Here we are testing watercolor paper to see if it's got sizing on it. If it doesn't have sizing on it, it's going to absorb, just like what you're seeing. The paper darkens and it soaks right into the paper, making it impossible to do watercolor. So in all of these examples, you can see that the paper darkened. The water does not stay on top of the paper, and it is not acceptable for watercolor painting. We need to have sizing on the paper so that we can manipulate and move the paper around. Here's an example of paper with proper sizing on it. This is actually a 300 pound. So you're going to see that in this example that the water actually just floats, stays on top of it. It doesn't absorb into it. So it almost pools on it. And that's the sizing. This is paper with proper sizing on it. Otherwise, the watercolor will just, on the previous paper, will just work like a blotter paper. It'll just suck it up like a sponge. And we don't want that. We want to have paper that has sizing on it, that allows us to move the paper around. Here you can see it even from a side angle, that the paper didn't darken, and that the water in this application is sitting on top of the paper and not being directly absorbed. Here's another piece of paper, another piece of watercolor, and you can see it again that the water kind of beads up on the paper. This is what we want. You're going to be able to move the paper, move the water, and be able to get your nice watercolor effects. This is some examples of some of my watercolor work with the proper sizing. And by the way, sometimes you can have old paper and it loses its sizing. So be careful of that also, because you can use both sides of a watercolor paper, but if you put a piece of paper away for years, you bring it back out, the sizing may no longer be there. Thank you very much. Remember to subscribe and like.